What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome to True Raider Podcast. I'm your host, True Raider. There's been a couple of things that are floating around, and I want to talk about them, man. So the first thing that I want to bring up, and this is unrelated to the thumbnail, but this is on Raiders.com. It says two Raiders appear on CBS Sports NFL Top 100 Players of 2025. So, as the start of the 2025 regular season nears, CBS Sports' Pete Prisco revealed his annual ranking of the NFL's top 100 players based off last season. In this year's edition, he named two Las Vegas Raiders players within the top 30, tight end Brock Bowers and edge rusher Max Crosby. Bowers came in at number 22 while being the only rookie to be named a first-team All-Pro in 2024. Bowers broke several NFL records for most receptions by a rookie, 112, and receiving yards by a rookie tight end, 1,194. Additionally, he set franchise records for the most receiving yards by a rookie and the most receptions in a season by any player. Bowers led all tight ends in catches last season as a rookie with 112, showing off the ability to dominate his matchups. Prisco wrote, "He might not catch as many passes this year, but I think he's now the best tight end in the league." 6 spots underneath his teammate, Crosby, came in at number 28. Despite multiple injuries forcing him to miss action, he led the team in sacks 7.5, tackles for loss 17, and quarterback hits 20, while being selected to his 4th consecutive Pro Bowl. Crosby missed 5 games because of injury, but he remains a force on the edge when he's on the field, Prisco wrote. A healthy Crosby is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. So, you guys, I don't think that that's any shock to us at all that, the players that are going to be selected on this are going to be Brock Bowers and Max Crosby. They're definitely the best players that we have on our team. But moving forward, I think that Ashton Jeanty is definitely going to be in that conversation. And I'm very interested to see what this season's going to look like. We definitely have some very good offensive weapons, and I'm very happy to see that we're making the shift when it comes to that. I got to say, I'm more excited for our offense this year than our defense, although our defense definitely has some stuff to look forward to. I definitely would love to see what this offense is going to look like under Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll at head coach, with Ashton Jeanty, Geno Smith, with the additions, plus Dante Thornton Jr. and Jack Besh already on this, what I like to believe to be a pretty stacked slew of offensive weapons that we have, because I like Jacoby Myers. We have Brock Bowers. We have Michael Mayer, who hasn't been properly utilized. We have a lot of that kind of stuff. So the thing that really, really got me wanting to talk, wanting to go live today, man, is I keep seeing this stuff about Henry Ruggs. So we're going to go ahead and bring up this article about Henry Ruggs because it's relevant, right? So this one is the Spun. And it says, Henry Ruggs announces decision on NFL career after leaving prison. Now, if you guys did not see it, Henry Ruggs did an interview. He had like a furlough from prison to go and speak for the Hope for Prisoners. And I really liked how he was talking. I saw a lot of maturity in him, a lot of change. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article. This came out yesterday. So it says Henry Ruggs announces decision on NFL career after leaving prison, originally appeared on The Spun. It's been several years since former Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver Henry Ruggs was involved in a fatal accident that killed a 23-year-old woman and her dog. But he was on temporary release yesterday and used his time out wisely. Ruggs was given his temporary release to speak at a Hope for Prisoners event where he apologized for his actions on that fateful day in 2021. One, I wish I could turn back the hands of time, Ruggs said. I would love for them to meet the real Henry Ruggs and not the one that was escaping from something. I sincerely apologize for not only being a part of that situation, but the fact that my face is always in the news, it's always in the newspaper. So they have to constantly be reminded of the situation, be reminded of me. Ruggs was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison and will be up for parole next summer, and if he is granted it. So after his speech, he was asked if he's interested in returning to the NFL in the event that he gets out. Ruggs responded with a pretty resounding yes. Yes, I would love to play again, Ruggs said. I'm in this newfound spiritual space, and I'm confident in who I am and what I can do. So when the time comes, I'm pretty sure I'll be ready. Ruggs said that he'd be open to joining the Raiders too if they'll have him. Why would I not? Ruggs said. I don't feel like I ended on the terms that are meaningful to me and my core values. I would love to play again. And what better place to do it than where I started? Not to mention, I was the first ever pick in Las Vegas. Prior to his conviction, Ruggs appeared to be on track to develop into a pretty good wide receiver. He averaged 17.4 yards per reception as a rookie in 2020, but looked better in 2021, averaging 19.5 yards per catch and had 469 yards on just 24 catches. But Ruggs has to get out of prison before this is even a possibility, and he's got another full year at least before that even comes into play. So I know that this is like a theoretical, man. What's good, Chewy? Salute, salute. I know that this is a theoretical situation that's pretty far out, right? It's not something that's going to happen right away. It's not something that we're looking at this season. Um, and I think that there's a whole lot of things that go into play on this, right? So when you look at, for one, let's look at the situation that Henry Ruggs negligently got drunk, got in his car, was driving well over 100 miles an hour, and then, basically refused to take all the options that he had, right? He's intoxicated. He's leaving Top Golf at the wee hours of the morning and didn't call an Uber. He didn't, the Raiders have transport services that are available. He could have called teammates. He could have done a lot of things. And he went out there and he ran into the back of a vehicle of a young woman who had her dog with her, and the vehicle caught fire. And I'll spare you the gruesome details, right? Now, that is something that severely upsets me because I really have very, very little respect for people who choose to drive drunk. I really do. Now, with that being said, I am a person who strongly believes that people can change. And I personally, I work in the rehabilitation of inmates. I myself am a person who is a convicted felon who is in long-term recovery. And I also not only work for a living with the rehabilitation of inmates, but I also volunteer at the penitentiary in my state. So do I believe that people can change? I strongly do. I very strongly do. And I really liked the interview that I saw. A lot of the things that he was saying really made me feel like he's actually doing a whole lot of work on himself while he's incarcerated, which is not the case. I think that most of us know that that's not the case for everybody who's incarcerated, right? There's a lot of people that go into incarceration and a lot of them get worse. A lot of them don't get better. A lot of them don't put in the effort. And what I see is an individual who really, in this interview, man, I heard that there was a lot of maturity. I heard a lot of spiritual growth. Um, and what I heard was somebody who I believe really, really regrets his decision, and not just because of how it's affected his life, but in how he's affected their lives as well. Dennis saying, I hope not, because if he does, I'll never watch again. And I think people can have their strong feelings about the situation, but it would take a whole lot for me to stop watching the Raiders, man. I gotta tell you that. Moose, worst part is him and his girl didn't even try to get her out. They just sat there. Yeah, watching that video was absolutely horrific, man. That was awful stuff to watch. Alfredo, what's good, man? How you doing? Chewy, good job giving back and bouncing back. I know it's not easy, bro. Keep up the grind, brother. Hey, I appreciate that, man. Salute to you. Salute to you. Alfredo says everybody deserves a second chance. And Chewy says, besides everything else, though, we really could use Ruggs right now. And if let's go ahead and pull up Ruggs' stats, right? Because this is another thing to look at. So Ruggs, Henry Ruggs, he was born in 99, right? So what, he's 26 now? Yeah, so actually I want to look at real quick. Where does it say this, man? Anyway, let's just go ahead and go to his stats. So on his stats, in 2020, he had 13 games played, 26 receptions, 452 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 17.4 per catch, 1 fumble, right? With a long of 72. 2021, this is the year where he ended up committing this crime and ended up incarcerated. And they were only 7 games into the season, man. 7 games in when this happened, and he had 24 receptions at the time, 469 yards, 19.5 per catch, 2 touchdowns, along with 61. Now, these numbers were definitely projected to be a whole lot better, right? And this is a guy who was what I believe to be a rising star for the Raiders. And there's been a lot of players that we have not taken since this incident because of this incident, and including Jalen Carter. And that's how we ended up with Tyree Wilson. So, yeah, Chewy, I believe that would have been a 1,000-yard season, right? And so this is a guy that definitely could be a great offensive weapon, right? Someone will let him walk on and try out Moose, and I think you're right about that, right? And it might not be the Raiders. It could be that Mark Davis is afraid of the PR nightmare that could come from this. But also, we got guys like Max Crosby on the team, right? We had Darren Waller, guys in recovery. And if there's an honest belief in recovery, and I honestly think that Henry Ruggs going to back into the NFL could put him in a better position to actually truly make amends for the wrong that he did. I don't know if Mark Davis would be willing to consider it, because it might be a nightmare for him. It truly might be a nightmare for him in the PR realm. Now, would Pete Carroll, and that's the decision that I think, it would have to be that Mark Davis, or it'd have to be that Pete Carroll and John Spytek are like, look, we want to take a flyer on this guy. We want to take a look at it. And then Mark Davis would have to kind of come through and say, you know what, I'm willing to go ahead and give this a try. And then at that point, we'll see if he's even been able to stay in proper condition while in prison, right? And I know in prison, like, you can work out a lot. There's a lot of things you can do, but can he do proper NFL training there? Chewy, why didn't any of his friends or teammates stop him from driving? I remember there was an interview where Josh Jacobs was saying that he almost went out with him to Top Golf that night. and then ultimately decided not to. There were a whole lot of different decisions that could have been made to put him in a position where he did not do this. But ultimately, he did, right? So Chewy's saying if we grab Ruggs, there would be so much attention on the Raiders. And that is another good point, right? Because from an owner standpoint, Mark Davis could look at this like this is a PR nightmare and I don't want to touch it. He could also look at it like, well, there's going to be a lot of eyes on us. There's going to be a lot of media attention. And especially if this year, if we have the season that I believe we're going to have, a lot of people are already going to be looking in the Raiders' direction, right? Who was it that said that we were the NFL's most improved team this offseason, right? And I believe that. You bring on Henry Ruggs, and yes, there's going to be a lot of cameras. There's going to be a lot of media attention, which means profit, right? And ultimately, from an owner standpoint, they are looking at the profit. It's taking a big risk. Now, if we look at, Chewy, ESPN, I think it was ESPN. I think you're right that said that. So if I look at it from my personal opinion, right, like where do I stand with the Henry Ruggs thing? And like I said earlier, I do believe that people can change. I do believe I would love, honestly, for this guy to get another chance. If he comes, out of prison and tries to get back in the NFL, I do believe that there is going to be some team that is going to be willing to take him back. And I don't know if it'll be the Raiders. Would I want him back? If he's truly made the change in his self that I believe that he's made at this point, yes, I would. If he came back in the NFL and started being cocky and all this, yeah, I might steer a different direction. But if you did not check out this interview, go check it out. You can find it on YouTube. And the way he was talking, man, it really, really made me feel very confident that this dude has been doing a lot of the work on himself, right? LJ with the follow salute, man. I think that he'd have a rough first season. It'd be hard coming back from prison into the NFL. But I think that part of the development that happens with players when they come to the NFL isn't just taking NFL reps and games and practices and training camps and all that. I do believe that some of it has to do with mentality, right? And growing up, the maturity. These guys gain a level of maturity as they get older. And at this point, he's 26. His brain's fully developed. And he's had some really harsh life lessons, and I got no shame in saying that I would want the Raiders to take a flyer on Henry Ruggs. That's how I feel about it right now, man. And the thing that gets me about it though is that right now we have Jacoby Myers, we have Brock Bowers, we have Michael Mayer, we just drafted Jack Besh, we have Trey Tucker going into year 3, and we have Dante Thornton Jr. So we have our speedsters, we have good receivers, and I think a lot of it would depend on how well these guys are playing. Because if they can be in a position where, okay, maybe some of these rookies don't pan out the way that we hope, right? Let's say Dante Thornton has a great year and Jack Besh doesn't, or Jacoby Myers, he wants a deal, right? And maybe the Raiders don't want to pay him, and then he goes somewhere else. And then they decide, okay, we're going to go ahead and bring in a Henry Ruggs. That way, in our draft, we don't have to look at receiver. We can look at things like left guard, right? Like right now, Colton Miller and the Raiders have not come to a deal, which is concerning because I feel like keeping Colton Miller at this point is a priority. I was saying a couple years, I was saying that we should have traded Colton Miller with a bunch of stuff to go get Jane Daniels, right? But now that Miller has healed from his shoulder surgery and he is playing well, we need to prioritize getting Colton Miller back in the building. South Jersey JC with the Raiders. What's good, man? What's good? Chewy, drop the sub. Hopefully, we get to collab one day. I'm out, brother. You take care. Have a good live. Chewy, I'm going to have to look up your channel now, man, because I am not subbed and I will be, man. So I'm actually going to look it up right now because what can happen in the rest of this live is that I mess around and forget. So I'm going to go look at it right now. Let me see, bro. Okay, I typed it in, man, and I'm going to look for it now in a minute. Chew News and Podcast. Boom, found it. Subs, brother. Salute to you. All right, so now there's another thing. James, what's good, man? How you been? I would love it if they took a chance on Ruggs. I would too, and honestly, I think that with the maturity, and really the time that he's spent behind bars, would really light a fire under this kid to really truly come into the NFL and give his all, right? Because let's face it, after what he's put himself through, most people in that situation don't get another chance, right? Chewy, salute to you, man. I'm gonna have to check out some of your content, man. But yeah, James, like really in Ruggs having so much to prove, right? Like Chewy said, um, I really think that he'd be coming out here and putting in that Max Crosby level effort, right? Because most people don't get that second chance, right? And being a person who's a convicted felon myself, I fully understand how difficult it is to get back into the stream of life, right? It took a long time for me to be able to be a responsible, productive member of society and really be able to thrive in the way that I am today, right? But for him, you know, ex NFL star, second season in his NFL career, he ends up in prison on pretty horrific charges, get out of prison, can't go back into the NFL, then what? What's he going to do? What's he going to do with his life? He's going to have a hard road ahead. And so I believe that if he gets that second chance, that he's really, really going to take that and run with it. And for me, man, the people that I've worked with, that I've seen come out of incarceration with really that drive of knowing that, look, I got a second chance at life and I don't ever want to go back to that misery, they really, really, really thrive. They do, man. My 2 cents. Salute, salute. What's good, man? How you doing? Billy Davis in the building. What's good, man? What up, Raider Nation troop? We got Joey in the building. What's good, man? Salute, salute. He did his time, although it will never make up for lives lost. We should give him another chance. He messed up. I pray he learned from it. And if you get a chance, man, go look at this Hope for Prisoners with Henry Rugg. Look it up on YouTube. Check out this interview. The way that he's talking, man, I truly, truly believe that there's been a spiritual shift in this kid, man. And that, I don't know, man, like it's hard to fake those kind of things, right? And I've watched a lot of people try, right? With what I do for a living, I've watched a ton of people just try to kind of bullshit their way through re-entering society and trying to look good for whoever, the courts or their families or whoever it might be, right? And anytime I've watched this happen, man, it's just it shows through pretty quickly when somebody's faking it, right? When somebody is truly, truly, genuine about their shift and their change, it radiates through them, man. And that's what I personally was seeing in this, and I know one interview, I can't really truly make a full judgment on that, but I liked what I see so far. And actually, that article didn't even say when he's eligible for parole. I think it's next year. Chewy, I like to ask every content creator this: what do you have our record being in an unbiased opinion? That is a very, very difficult thing to do because last year I was very wrong. Last year I was convinced we were going 10-7, and then we announced Garner Minshew as our starting quarterback. And I started really looking at Garner Minshew with Luke Getsy, and it was like, uh-oh, I messed up. And so to really give an honest look at this, for sure, we are going to be improved from last year. We're going to have a better record than we did last year. Um, I want to say that we are going to be more in the realm of like 9 games. I believe that we could get to 9 wins. And I really think that we're going to be in a position where towards the end of the season, we are in playoff contention. Um, Now, it could be by week 2, I'm like, I was wrong, you guys. I don't think it's going anywhere. But with everything that we're hearing out of OTAs, everything that we've seen with the improvement of uh, Pete Carroll, with John Spytek, even with Chip Kelly, just our coaching staff in general, is much, much improved. Luke Ketsey was garbage, and so was garbage Minshew. And I like AOC, but I don't really think that he was the guy to do it. Let's see. Chewy saying I'm always wrong. Billy says 12-5. My 2 cents says 9 wins is my prediction as well. Chewy said, bro, I said the same, posted about 2 weeks ago. Got us at 9 wins, 8 minimum. I think that we're somewhere between the 8 and 10 win range. I really think that we're going to land somewhere in there. Looking at our schedule, we don't have the easiest schedule. We don't, right? And a lot of that's going to depend on, is Denver really as good as they're being hyped up to be? Because really, if we weren't so trash last year, all it takes is for us to beat Denver in one game, and they're not in the playoffs. Chargers, they weren't far off from that either. I think that they were, maybe if we beat them once and they lost one other game, they're not in the playoffs, right? So the fact that we were so trash made it easier for the Chargers and the Broncos to get into the playoffs. This is what it is. Yeah, I'm on that 8 minimum, 11 max. I could see that, and I could see where we, go into this season and Geno Smith is clicking in Chip Kelly's offense. Ashton Genty hits it hard on his first year. We figure out a way to actually utilize both Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. And then Dante Thornton Jr. being that very tall, 6'5", 4.3, 40-yard dash deep threat really puts us in a position where, like, if this offense fails, then I don't even know what to think anymore. I am a little bit concerned about our defense because our defensive line is still going to be good, but Christian Wilkins is not going to be there week 1. It's probably going to take Christian Wilkins until September at the earliest to get back, and then he's not going to have a full off season. He's not going to have all these. I'm a little bit worried, right? A little bit worried. And yeah, Joey, Billy's correct. Henry Ruggs is 26. He was born in January of 1999, which makes me feel very old. I remember 1999, man. It's crazy. Another thing I wanted to bring up, man, was there's some rumors swirling. Let me find this. So this is on the rumors is about Justin Simmons, right? And the possibility of the Raiders going after him for free safety. Now, I already put out a video last week saying that I don't believe that John Spytek and Pete Carroll are going to go out there and get Jalen Ramsey and Jair Alexander. Jair Alexander already signed with the Ravens. Jalen Ramsey is not a free agent, though he's projected to be traded, and it's probably not going to cost that much. And he's been saying for years that he wants to be a Raider. I don't think that we're going to do that. Now, Justin Simmons, on the other hand, um, I believe that there's a lot of faith in Isaiah Paul Mao, but to be able to bring in a veteran like Justin Simmons, I mean, the dude, okay, he's a little bit on the older side, right? He's like 32 or will be 32. But he's been a solid player almost every season. You can see he's played almost all games. He does well on tackles. He's not much for sacks, but he's got a couple of interceptions here and there. He had 6 in 2022. Last year, he only had 2. Passes defense, 7. He's a solid safety. And I would not be surprised if we ended up with a Justin Simmons. Now, what I have failed to do, which I should probably do now, I believe he's a free agent, right? Yeah. Yeah, he's free agent. So I think that that would be a good move for us, right? To go and I mean, our defensive backs have been a little bit worried about that, right? Because I didn't want to lose Trayvon Merrick. I was upset about Robert Spillane. And then Jack Jones, man, I know he was real boomer bust and he had some character issues and, all that. But I wanted to see if maybe he would get his shit together under Pete Carroll, right? James Firpo with the Raiders. What's good, man? How you doing? Um, so with all these players going out the building, man, it's really I think Paul Mal can play good, but to really just kind of depend on him and Jeremy Chin there in the safety room, I to bring in a Justin Simmons and let Isaiah Paul Mal develop a little bit more, especially if we're in a position where we sign him for a 1-year deal. Because let's face it, he's 31. That's like ancient in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're a quarterback. So to be able to bring in that veteran presence, let Isaiah Paul Mal get some snaps, but really just learn under him and Jeremy Chin, I honestly I would love to see it, man. Because I mean, right now, okay, we did good with linebacker, right? We ended up with Jermaine Pratt and Landon Roberts. We brought in Devin White. We still, what's his name? Smith. I'm actually shocked that there's not much mention about Smith at all. Now I think about it. Tommy Eichenberg, I'm feeling a lot more confident about our linebacking room than I was just a couple of weeks ago, right? Yeah, Joey over here trying not to get too optimistic again. And I'm in that same boat, right? Because I was very optimistic last year. I thought AP was going to perform well, and he did great as an interim coach, and then he lost his confidence. He went away from what he was doing that was working as an interim, and he just kind of messed up as a head coach. And not to mention that they really failed to bring in a proper quarterback. So there's a couple of things there. But, honestly, I'm optimistic that the Raiders are, in fact, an improved team. The Raiders are, in fact, going to do better than they did last year. Um, I just don't see a world where we don't. We improved our head coach, much, much better, much, much more proven, and he's setting a great culture. Our offensive coordinator, much, much, much better, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, Chip Kelly, I don't know, because when he was a head coach, things didn't go so well, right? But if you really look at Chip Kelly when he has been an offensive coordinator, which he said straight up, that is what he wants to be. He doesn't want to be a head coach, that he wants to be a coordinator. That's what he loves to do, right? way, 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 way better than Luke Getzey, right? And then, I mean, quarterback. Okay, if you look at Geno Smith, I'd say Geno Smith is better than Derek Carr. And I liked Derek Carr. Derek Carr was very, very good until he got hurt. And then it was just hoping that Derek Carr was going to be Derek Carr again. And it just didn't go that way, right? So our quarterback room, he's definitely tons better than Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. While Aiden O'Connell, I think, has a lot of upside and promise, he's very, very slow. Geno Smith is extremely accurate. In fact, he was rated as the number one most accurate QB for passes of 20 yards or more, right? Our running game is definitely, definitely much improved, right? Ashton Genty and Raheem Mostert, like, come on, dude. Raheem Mostert 2 years ago led the league in touchdowns with, like, I think it was 20. Like, that's insane to me, right? Billy says we are going to the playoffs no matter what. I love your optimism, Billy. Joey, if they catch the momentum this year, I'm calling 10 wins, if not 7. And I really think that those first 3 games I get to see what's really happening, right? Because if we're kind of still struggling and adapting by game 3, I don't think that we're in playoff contention. I think that if we come out swinging and it's like obvious in the first game, 2 games, maybe 3 games, that's like this is a whole different Raiders team. Then then I'll have more confidence about it, right? My 2 cents, everything comes down to how consistent the O-line is. Otherwise, Raiders improved across the board, in my honest opinion. So another piece, right? And I'm going to go ahead and just work down the positional groups, right? But we talk quarterback, we talk running back, we talk coaches. So then if you go into the wide receiver room, last year, compared to this year when it comes to wide receivers, we have Brock Bowers going into year 2. He's probably not going to be as productive as he was in year 1, which is probably good, right? Matt Heavy G saying give Ruggs another chance. So you got Brock Bowers, and then it sounds like in OTAs they were finding Chip Kelly and Geno Smith were finding ways to get Michael Mayer involved. Michael Mayer is a very good tight end, and we have not utilized him. So being in a position to actually, you utilize Michael Mayer, that's amazing. And then we got Jacoby Myers, Jack Besh, and Dante Thornton Jr., who is absolutely all the reports that he is very much impressing people during OTAs that just ended. And the dude is fast. The dude can run routes. He's 6'5". With him and Trey Tucker both out there being the speedsters. I mean, Jack Besh, if you look at Jack Besh, he is built like Brock Bowers, right? So now, not only do we have Brock Bowers, but if we actually utilize Michael Mayer and then Jack Besh being able to be that kind of physical wide receiver, I think that like our players like Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers are going to get less yards than they did last year. And I believe it'll be a good thing. I don't think it's going to be that, oh, Raiders offense sucks. I think it's going to be, oh, they're actually spreading the ball out. And then Ashton Genty's been running a lot of routes where he's receiving and doing very, very well. Then our offensive line, we need to figure it out with Colton Miller. Colton Miller has not come to an agreement with the Raiders for an extension, and I think that we need to get that done. We have the money. I don't know what the holdup is. But Colton Miller started off last year really rough. He gave up 6 sacks like immediately, and he was coming back from a shoulder surgery. Now, as he healed more, he didn't really get much of an offseason. He got more into the groove of things. Colton Miller started playing amazing. Now, Jordan Meredith, towards the end of the year, he went in for Cody Whitehair. He played great at left guard, but what it looks like is that Dylan Parham is being moved to the left side. Then we got Jackson Powers Johnson at center, and I will say it every time. Jackson Powers Johnson being your center makes your offensive line better, period. He's a bully. He's amazing. And Andre James just constantly got beat. Uh, he got beat all the time because what ended up happening is Andre James would get beat, and then both the guards looked worse because they had to compensate for Andre James getting beat. And then our right side, man, I mean, Parham, I don't know why he was put to the right side. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, right? I think that it was a bad decision to ever move him over. He was doing great on the left side. Why do you want to move him? You know? And then our right guard situation, Alex Kappa, where he was like the worst guard in the league last year, right? So there's some worry about that, right? But then we did bring in Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant. I think that there's going to be competition on that right guard position, and I have a feeling that it's going to be. I think it was Charles Grant that they were talking about that was really doing well in OTAs. But then DJ Glaze actually did a pretty amazing job at right tackle. He's what I believe to be our best right tackle that we've had in years. And I think that in year two, the guy can develop even further. I don't know if you guys watch Sanjay T, but Sanjay T, he's really big on offensive line, and he says good things about DJ Glaze. DJ Glaze passes the eye test for me, and I really liked what I saw out of him. Not to mention, if you want to criticize Colton Miller or DJ Glaze, if Andre James is constantly getting beat at center, then the guards are having to overcompensate for right up the middle, which means that they're not being able to put their full energy and focus on the outside. So then the tackles are having a harder time because the guards are having to compensate for Andre James, right? Yeah, my 2 cents. Running back has to catch the ball in a Chip Kelly offense. They're even saying good things about Sincere McCormick and Zamir White, which is weird that Zamir White's even still in the conversation because I thought he was going to get cut. My 2 cents. True, you watched JPJ on recent The Rush. Great episode if you haven't. I didn't see that one, man. I did not. And I'm going to have to watch that now, actually. I think I'm going to put that one on my drive into work tomorrow. So, our offense all out is just, it's looking a whole lot better, and I'm really, really happy with what's happening with that. Now, if you look over at our defense, I got a little bit more concerns there, right? Because Christian Wilkins is out with injury, and so that's kind of a concern. We brought Adam Butler back, Max Crosby, of course, and we're going to have Malcolm Kuntz, which is going to be a huge game changer. But I really want Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, Adam Butler, and Malcolm Kuntz to all be there at the same time. But we got Tonka Hemingway in the draft. We got JJ Pegues. We do have more depth, I believe, right? And then our linebacker room, I was already talking about it. Picking up Jermaine Pratt, amazing pickup. I'm very happy about that. And then we have Landon Roberts. We got Devin White, Tommy Eichenberg. I'm really kind of happy with where we're landing with this linebacker room. They could use to be a little bit better in coverage, but these guys are very good run stoppers. And that's what we really need. How many times were we watching a game last year and it's like they're going to run the ball, and then they run the ball and they go get a first down? It's like, God, this is predictable, right? It's like, okay, we're being able to stop the passes a little bit, and then, they ran the ball, first down. And it was like, Divine Diablo was giving up so many. He is such a liability, man. We need those run stoppers. And then the cornerback room is kind of weird right now, right? Because they keep talking about Darian Porter. And Darian Porter was drafted in the 3rd round. He's pretty new to being a corner. He was a wide receiver. He transitioned into corner, and I'm a little like not so sure because they're saying such good things about him, but it really makes me nervous that he has not a whole lot of experience, right? Jacorian Bennett is taking second team reps before OTAs ended. And I think that part of that's because he's coming back from that shoulder injury. But I mean, he did finally get surgery on it, and I think that that's going to be good because that's an injury that plagued him for years. So, I mean, Jacorian Bennett, Darian Porter, and then we got Stokes, we got Holmes and Harper. They're saying really good things about them. But yeah, it's when we get into our secondary, right? We start talking about corners, we start talking about safeties. We got Paul Mount, we got Jeremy Chin. We still got Trey Taylor, who was injured last year, and he was what I want to say he was a sixth rounder, and he had the Jim Thorpe Award, which is like the best safety in college football, even though he didn't get drafted until the sixth round. But I don't know, man. To bring in somebody like a Justin Simmons or a Jalen Ramsey, like let's bring in a name. Let's bring in a name for the secondary. But I don't think Pete Carroll does it, man. Pete Carroll is known for developing guys, and I'm really interested to see what he can do with a Jacorian Bennett and with a Darian Porter. Joey Wilkins is kind of a bust, dude. Let's just say it. A lot of money for a couple games. And what really sucks, man, is that while Christian Wilkins was healthy before the injury, he did amazing. He did absolutely amazing. And he made Max play better too because they couldn't just double and triple team Max on every snap, and it really, really made a huge difference. So we really need this guy to come back healthy. And I'm really upset that, he was out there. Early in the off season, running full speed and stuff, but then all of a sudden he was back in the boot. Now we're looking at maybe he's healthy by September, which I really, really hope so. Now this injury, what's the injury called again? It's the foot fracture. It's the same one that Derrick Henry had, right? It's the same one that Tyree Wilson was dealing with. But if Derrick Henry could come back from this injury and still play the way he plays, I have some faith that Christian Wilkins can too. What's good, Jeffrey? How you doing, man? Do you think Henry Ruggs should get a second chance? So I guess you kind of missed that, man. We were talking about it earlier, but what it boiled down to is yes, I do believe that he should get a second chance, and I base that off of one interview. And it's just the way he was talking in this interview with the Hope for Prisoners. Um, he really sounds like somebody who's done some work on himself, some spiritual shifting, and kind of grown up. So I'm very much on the let's give him another chance train. James Wilkins is a lot heavier than Henry with the same injury though, and that's one of the biggest concerns, right? Is that you get a big man with this kind of, I think it's called a Jones fracture. It can really, really make it more difficult to heal properly because of the weight. Now, when it does heal properly, because it's like a 80% chance of healing properly, um, it's not common for somebody to refracture. It's that other 20% that just kind of never gets right. And so I'm worried that Christian Wilkins lands on that 20% and it kind of never gets right. But I'm hopeful, very, very hopeful, that he heals correctly. Let's take our time. Let's not rush him out there. He's a veteran. It's not like he's not going to be able to bounce back if he misses a lot of the offseason. Jeffrey, so I agree he made a mistake. It seems like he's learned from it. I would bring him in. Yeah, no, I'm on that same page, man. So Jeffrey also saying, but if you're looking for secondary help, I would call the Ravens. They got 4 good corners now. One of them could get moved. I don't think that they're going to really depend on Jair Alexander because he cannot stay healthy. But damn, man, the rich getting richer over there, man. That's how it always goes, right? James, no more celebrations. But not kidding. You see that it got what it got with Wilkins. And I was saying that when we were doing our watch parties, where it was just like I remember him doing stuff like trying to like jump over Max, like, and it's like, bro, somebody gonna get hurt with one of them celebrations, man. You can't be doing that. And then, boom, it ended up happening, man. Ended up happening. So, you guys, we're coming up on an hour right now. Um, I got another meeting I got to get to, man. I got to go celebrate with a friend who's celebrating 40 years. So I'm going to go ahead and jump off, but I definitely appreciate you guys. Um, I should be on sometime this weekend. Keep an eye out for me. Like always, I love you, nation. I will catch you on the next one.